From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Making presentations to others is often a big part of formal learning. But things other than the words we say can affect our message. Some call this physical message, body language. Charles LeBeau is a professor of public speaking. LeBeau tells VOA that body language includes posture, eye contact, and gestures, how you move your hands or arms. He says presentations are especially difficult for people learning English, as they must deal with grammar and natural nervousness. One effect of being nervous is moving from side to side. A presenter does not need to stand perfectly still, but how a speaker moves is important. Whole body movement should be slow and planned. Public speakers should look at the audience as they talk, but they often look at their notes or at the screen if they have an electronic presentation. LeBeau says making eye contact can be very difficult. He says the best way to avoid this problem is to use images and few words for notes instead of whole sentences. The image should help communicate the point you want to make. Writing a few words with the image on your slide helps you remember that point. Then you can look at the audience. Other experts advise moving your body to a different place for each idea. Stay in place until you finish making that point. Then move to the next place on the stage. LeBeau says a good way to change your body language is to make a video of yourself. This helps you to become aware of what you need to change. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Educators across the United States are calling for major changes in the way students are admitted to colleges and universities. The Harvard School of Graduate Education and 80 other groups released a new report called Turning the Tide. It suggests that colleges ask for more information about a student in the admissions process. For example, the report suggests colleges look at a student's record of responsibility for others and their communities. In addition, the researchers say the chance of educational success should be available to everyone. David Hawkins is with the National Association for College Admissions Counseling. He says that most colleges require examples of writing with applications. But, he says, colleges consider test results and educational records more important. The report says this is good for some students, but hurts others. Students who can pay for private tutoring will have an advantage. The Harvard report says there should be less importance on educational test results. Colleges should look for examples of students working in their communities for long periods of time, the report says. David Hawkins says that educational records are still the best indicator of how students will perform in college. He also says that many colleges and universities agree with the Harvard report. But he says they still may not make changes. For VOA Learning English, I'm Peter Musto. From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. The European Union is not likely to cancel trade barriers on China this year. The European Union is worried that Chinese exports will lead to job loss in member nations. That is what the EU Chamber of Commerce in Beijing said in a recent report. The European Union is China's biggest trade partner. Last month, workers representing trade unions in 17 countries demonstrated in Brussels. Some carried signs that read, "Say no to MES for China." MES means market economy status. The unions blame both China and Russia for creating job losses. Job growth in Europe has been slow. Jörg Wuttke is president of the EU Chamber of Commerce in China. He says unrest is making it extremely difficult for European politicians to support China's request for being granted the status of a market economy. If it is granted, the move would reduce trade barriers and make it easier for Chinese exports to flow to Europe. Critics warn that MES for China could lead to the dumping of goods at unfairly low prices. In trade, dumping is defined as selling a product in a foreign country at below its price at home. But the EU has introduced anti-dumping cases that can block the flow of Chinese goods. According to the EU Chamber of Commerce, all except one of China's industries were suffering from extremely low demand for the amount of goods they can produce. Chinese companies have tried to export surplus steel, which has pushed down global prices. For VOA Learning English, I'm Peter Musto.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report. Few people would disagree that email makes our lives easier, but misusing email can cause problems. Answering all those emails and processing all that information can overload the brain, causing stress. That is the finding of the company Future Work Center. The London-based business carries out psychological research on workplace life. Richard McKinnon was the lead writer of a report on messaging habits. He said, email can be a valuable, time-saving, communication tool. But he said it can also be a source of stress and even anger for many people. He said stress does not come from the number of emails received. The problems are linked instead to how people deal with email. The study found two very stressful email behaviors. One is to leave email on all day and never sign off. The other is to read and answer emails early in the morning and late at night. Not all jobs are equal in connection to email stress. The jobs with the most email stress are marketing, public relations, media, and information technology. There are ways to cut down on email stress. Plan your use of email. Do not immediately react to email alerts. Use an automatic out-of-office reply more often. Use the telephone more to communicate. Even better, talk to people face-to-face when you can. Restrict use of the Reply All tool on email. Email is here to stay, so it is important that people control their email instead of it controlling them. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball. From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. Social entrepreneurs are people who create startup companies that would help fields such as the environment, healthcare, or agriculture. These entrepreneurs use new ways of doing things to try to solve important economic and social problems. Their companies can be for-profit or nonprofit organizations. Funding for social entrepreneurs is increasing. Money is coming from foundations, institutional investors, and individuals. Kiplinger is a personal finance publication in Washington, D.C. It reported that the amount of money going into socially responsible investing almost doubled from 2012 to 2014 to more than $6 trillion. The Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship in Geneva, Switzerland, is a foundation that helps social entrepreneurs around the world. Each year, the foundation works with the World Economic Forum to search for outstanding social innovators with business models that are proven to drive social and environmental change. Like all entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs reinvest their profits in the enterprise to expand it. Kristen Gruss Richmond is the co-founder of Revolution Foods. Her company in Oakland, California, provides fresh food for families and schools. It is active in 11 states and Washington, D.C. Richmond said, social entrepreneurs are driven by their values. And she gives this advice: align yourself with a team, a board, and investors who believe in your mission. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball. From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. A new phone app senses vibrations and alerts people to earthquakes. The phone app recognizes sudden shaking of the Earth's surface through sensors in smartphones. The new app is called My Shake. It is the work of 4 researchers at the University of California, Berkeley. They said they created a worldwide warning system that would inform people and give them time to prepare for earthquakes. Other earthquake apps include QuakeFeed, Quakes, and Earthquake. They show where earthquakes have happened, their strength, and any aftershocks. The apps use information from the U.S. Geological Survey. The My Shake app is available only for Android phones. Smartphones are equipped with accelerometers. These instruments measure movement. They also can measure the shaking of a machine, building, or other structure. Activity trackers and apps that count steps or exercise activities use accelerometers. Global Positioning System, also called GPS, apps also use them. My Shake uses phone accelerometers to measure seismic activity. It has been programmed to know the difference between normal activity and earthquake movements. The smartphone then sends seismic information to the app developers. The software developers say their app is correct 93% of the time. Several notifications from one area could mean that an earthquake may be taking place or will take place soon. The app also shows ways to stay safer during an earthquake. The developers say the app will improve as more people use it. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Science Report. There will be more plastic than fish in the world's oceans by 2050 unless something is done. That is the warning in a new report from the World Economic Forum and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. If current waste activities continue, the report says, oceans will contain 1 ton of plastic for every 3 tons of fish in 2025. By 2050, plastics will weigh more than fish, the report says. Each year, about 8 million tons of plastic enters oceans around the world. The report says this is comparable to placing a garbage truck load of waste into the ocean every minute. Not all the plastic waste is purposely thrown into the ocean. Much of it starts the trip as waste on streets and sidewalks. The environmental group Marine Defenders says the street waste flows into pipes and then rivers during rainstorms. Unlike other trash in the ocean, plastic takes hundreds of years to biodegrade or break down. There is a way to lessen the amount of plastics going into the oceans. People can recycle more. To recycle is to change waste into different, useful material. The report's authors say currently only about 14% of plastics are recycled. The Natural Resources Defense Council says research now shows that fish are dying from eating plastics. The material can block their airways. It can also block their digestive systems and cause starvation. The organization says the material can also poison humans when they eat fish that have eaten plastic. For VOA Learning English, I'm Peter Musto.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Science Report. Recent studies show extreme rises in worldwide sea level and Arctic temperatures. The Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences recently released the sea level study. It shows sea levels rose faster in the 20th century than in any of the 27 centuries before. The researchers say that from 1900 to 2000, sea levels rose 14 centimeters. Robert Kopp of Rutgers University in New Jersey is the lead author. He called the 20th century sea level rise extraordinary. And Kopp said, the rise over the last 2 decades has been even faster. The study shows that without a warming Earth, sea levels would have dropped by 3 centimeters and risen by 7. Co-author Stefan Rahmstorf is a professor of ocean physics at the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Germany. He says sea levels will continue to go up. How much and how long? The research shows levels could rise more than a meter by the year 2100. Scientists from NASA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration did the Arctic temperatures study. It found that temperatures at the North Pole hit record highs in January. This news comes after scientists said 2015 was the hottest year ever recorded. The scientists also have noted a huge area of unusually warm water in the northern Pacific Ocean. They say it keeps air temperature about 3 degrees warmer than usual in that area. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. A new study shows a link between sleeping problems and young adults who use social media. Researchers at the University of Pittsburgh's School of Medicine did the study. Jessica Levinson led the team. The researchers questioned 1,800 adults from 19 to 32 years old. The team asked how much and how often they used social media sites like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn. On average, members of the study group used social media sites 61 minutes a day. They also visited social media accounts 30 times a week, on average. 30% of those in the study reported having serious problems with sleeping. The people who made the most individual visits to social media were 3 times more likely to have sleep problems. Those who spent the most time on social media were 2 times as likely to have difficulty sleeping. Levinson says the more visits to social media sites the young adults had, the greater their chance of having problems with sleeping. So, rather than overall time spent on social media, repeated visits might be more harmful to sleep. Brian Primack is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Health and Society of the Medical School's Health Sciences Department. He says more study is needed to learn if social media use increases sleep problems or if sleep problems increase social media use. The study was published in the online journal Preventative Medicine. For VOA Learning English, I'm Peter Musto.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. China is the world's second biggest economy, but recent reports show its economy is weakening. The numbers show the country's factory production is at its lowest level in 4 years. The official Purchasing Managers' Index, or PMI, marks activity in factories. The manufacturing PMI in China is reported by Market Economics. The index in China dropped to 49 in February. In January, the PMI was 49.4. Any reading of the PMI below 50 signals contraction or an economic decrease. It was the 7th month in a row the PMI dropped. Observers of the Chinese economy say February's PMI reading could have been affected by the Chinese New Year. Many factories close for an extended period of time, and workers stay home during the holiday. Another survey shows China's economy is slumping or falling. The Caixin Purchasing Managers' Index fell to a 5-month low of 48 in February. The index calculates economic output, new orders, and employment. The economy in China grew at an annual rate of nearly 7% in 2015. That was the slowest amount of growth in 25 years. To help improve the economy, the Chinese announced a round of spending and added to the money supply. The People's Bank of China recently announced It was cutting the amount of money that banks must hold as reserves. The People's Bank also added $100 billion in currency into the banking system to aid in new lending. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.